Hi, I'm going to present curvature analysis of sculpted hair meshes for hair guides generation. This work was conducted in collaboration between ETS and Ubisoft. As regards the context of this research, artists usually use images or hair meshes to generate either hair cards or hair strands. There is no unique pipeline, but we decided to focus on one existing in the industry. Usually, artists will create manually hair guides based on a hair mesh, and then these guides will be used in a 3D software to be interpolated so they can be used as they are, as hair strands, or used to generate hair cards. Our approach automates the hair guide creation process, as this process accounts for up to 70% of the interaction time, reducing the 2 to 3 days to few minutes with our approach provides a significant improvement. Hair generation is a well-known problem which has multiple solutions. And first there are the methods using images, such as the one that use multiple images to create a 3D reconstruction of the hair. Then there are methods that use existing meshes to retrieve a similar haircut based on an image. And also there are methods that use neural networks to generate individual hair based on a single image thanks to an autoencoder. These methods work well, but using an image to generate hair is complicated for an artist since it does not let them have much creativity opportunity. So we would rather use geometry, which is why the next type of methods are the ones that use geometry. So for example, one could use splines to generate geometry along the splines, and these splines would be placed manually by the artists. Then there are methods that use statistical distribution, where the user will use a few parameters to generate a whole hairstyle. And last but not least, there are methods that use 3D model, as Yüksel et al., which based on a mesh constrained to different inputs of the user, which will use a constrained mesh to generate individual hair strands inside the mesh. None of these methods could be used in the production since there are many constraints, and it also does not really allow the artist to have much control on the final output. So our method is separated in 8 different steps, and I will go through each one of them. First, there is the curvature analysis, where the goal is to find triangles that represent strands. We do that by first computing the Gaussian curvature on the mesh, and then after that we will keep the parts of the mesh that correspond to concave surface regions. After that, we clean the mesh by removing unused vertices and remove degenerate primitives. The following step is to separate into groups based on vertex connectivity of the mesh. This allows us to discard small connectivity groups by computing the oriented bounding box for all the groups, and also it allows us to discard wide groups by computing the maximum distance to boundary for each vertex of each group. And this is what we have thanks to the curvature analysis, a mesh that represents only hair strands. After that, there is the generation of guides, where the goal is to generate splines along the surface. To do that, we have 2 different methods. The first one approximates NURBS along each connectivity group, and the second one extracts the skeleton from the mesh, then remove junctions in the skeleton, and approximates NURBS with the remaining bones. Our approach always uses both methods, and will keep the results of the method that outputted the most guides. Next, there is a plausibility check of guides. Here we ensure that guides correspond to straight, wavy hair strands. Sometimes guides should be split, and to do that, we compute the derivative of the height value of all the points of the curves, and then we compute local extrema based on that. And if 2 consecutive extrema are high enough, then we decide that we want to split at these points. After that, we have the direction analysis, where the goal is to find the guide's root and tip. Here we want to determine the guide's direction based on where the root is for each guide. To do that, we use a painting parting line on the mesh. Then we set the guides affected by the parting line based on a distance threshold. To set the directions for the parting lines guides, we say that the root is defined by the closest point to the parting line. And then for all the other guides, since hair are affected by gravity, we say that the highest extremity is the root. Next, there is the connection of guides, which aims to connect all the compatible guides together. Based on a method proposed by Liu et al., we fit circles to close-by extremities of guides. Then we define potential connections based on the fitting error and sort all the potential connections by increasing value of error. Then we iterate over them, and if none of the extremities of the pair is connected to another one yet, then we create a connection. And this is what we have thanks to the connection of guides. After that, the next step is the repulsion of guides. Indeed, here the goal is to resolve hair heads intersections, since the hair used for the creation of guides might not fit exactly the head to which we want to connect the guides, then intersection may happen. And to solve that, we represent the head as a sign distance field, which allows us to know the direction and distance to the closest surface. This is used to repulse the intersecting hair following the SDF value and the gradient, which project all the guides on the surface. Now that we have hair that fit the head, we would like to connect them, and this is done first by creating a vector field that describes the global flow of the hair. To do that, we first voxelize the hair mesh, and then transfer the directions to the voxels. Now it gives us a sparse vector field, so we interpolate all the directions using inverse distance weighting. And the vector field generated has some noise, so we clean that by using a median vector filter and a similarity threshold that prevents us from over-smoothing the vector field. At last, we have the scalp connection, where the root of the guides will be connected smoothly to the scalp. This is done by first subdividing the scalp mesh until the area of the triangles is less than 8 square millimeter. Then the vector field voxels are set to the direction toward the closest scalp point, and we draw the root of the guides through the vector field, which gives us the following attachment. Now for the results, we see that our method is able to generate guides for diverse hairstyles and shorter to longer hair. The guides that we create depends highly on the level of details used for the sculpting of the mesh. The higher the level of details, the higher the number of guides will be generated. As it can be seen on the following graph, the number of guides generated highly depends on the number of triangles of the sculpted mesh. Our method is also quite fast. The generation time takes between 17 seconds and 124 seconds for the examples shown previously. And this is much faster compared to the 2 or 3 days required to create hair guides manually. So this is a tremendous improvement. Also, we can see that the time spent on the different steps of the method is also quite similar for all the different examples. As regards the limitations of our method, we mainly support only wavy and straight hairstyles. So when a hairstyle is not really supported by our method, we will generate only a few guides. But there is an alternative to solve that. It's that we could parameterize the scalp, then sample a root on the scalp, and grow hair from the scalp through the vector field that we found. As a conclusion, we can say that we are the first ever approach to convert a sculpted hair mesh into guides curve. Also, we extract guides through a curvature analysis and curve connections. We use a sign distance field approach to push the guides out of the head. And last but not least, we use a vector field approach to connect the guides to the scalp. Thank you for your attention.